It is Friday, the 15th day of August 2025. A very good morning to you. Asante sana for keeping us company all the way from Monday up until today. It is the last day of Devolution Conference, which is currently ongoing in Homa Bay County, County 043. The theme this year is Devolution as a catalyst for equity, inclusion, and social justice. And of course, today there is a theme in itself which speaks of financing. And of course, we'll be hoping to join our team there in the course of this newspaper review and in the course of this show. That is Fred Ndemoli and of course Chichi Josephine and Mike Kagwongo. But before that, let's take a look at the stories making headlines in the country and regionally. We start off with the Daily Nation. Mr. President expose the corrupt MPs. Taifa Leo, uchumba wa Ruto na Homa Bay. The Standard speaks of ridiculous displays. The Star, rebels vow to snub Ruto and Raila joint meet with MPs. People Daily, IDs, Ruto's hidden card in border areas. And finally, Business Daily, investor offer record 323 billion shillings for bond in race for big returns. And we'll be back to take a look at the local dailies. But on the State of the Nation today, Fred will be hosting Vikings Bondo, that is MCA West Kasipul Ward, and Kevin Osido, a governance specialist and executive director at County Governance Watch, coming your way starting 6:30 a.m. And of course, Eric Kiniti, EABL Corporate Relations Director, on empowering MSMEs through sustainable financing and market linkages. This will be coming your way from 8 a.m. Let's cross over our borders now. We start off in Uganda. Daily Monitor, the silent war on state surveillance, hiding in plain sight, and the growing sophistication in surveillance and its inescapable threat in tracking private communication has left a section of Ugandans looking over their shoulders. The talk of signal and for private chats, calls with end-to-end encryption. WhatsApp may be okay for private calls with end-to-end encryption, and VPN can be used to hide the internet service provider. Airplane mode, useful during sensitive meetups to avoid being tracked through call center, cell towers. And SMS, avoid short messaging services for sensitive communication because they are easy to intercept. Avoid regular phone calls for sensitive communication because they are easy to intercept as well. And avoid using inflammatory words, which new AI surveillance tools might flag. The silent war on state surveillance. How city businessman was killed by gunmen in Kasangati raid. That story is on page 2. And on the top strip, General Muhoozi drops U.S. indicted Katungi. Sent packing, the chairman of the Patriotic League of Uganda, that is PLU, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, has sacked his Director of External Affairs after he was indicted by the United States over allegations of arms smuggling during cartels in Mexico. And that's the Daily Monitor this morning. Still in Uganda, New Vision list follows public service payroll audit. They speak of ghost staff, 7,300 fresh names probed. This came up this week on Wednesday. Some have already pleaded guilty to these charges on ghost workers. NRM primaries petition winners and petition lost. This story is on page 7. They're here on the front page of the New Vision. NUP petitions court over UPDF Act. And Matters Health, parents of Mulago's second IVF baby speak out. On the top strip, Airtel on the spot over clients' mobile money, and 8 million people ask for safe water. That's in Uganda. New Vision, we cross over to Tanzania. The Citizen, Mchuchuma Liganga set for revival as new study begins. And after more than a decade of delays, the government has launched a new feasibility study for the stalled $3 billion Mchuchuma and Liganga coal and iron ore projects in Ludewa district in Njombe region. And the contract was signed in 2011. And TCI MRL still holds 2 valid special mining licenses for the Mchuchuma coal and Liganga iron ore deposits. This story is on page 2. AI's impact on analytical skills among students. And they say artificial intelligence is rapidly reshaping higher education in Tanzania, as tools such as ChatGPT and Cloudy can now write essays, summarize research papers, and solve complex equations in seconds. While these advances bring opportunities, they also raise pressing questions as students still learning how to think and read. Matters politics given prominence here as well. Mpina on his State House bid and why he quit CCM. And former lawmaker Luhaga Mpina yesterday explained why he believes he has what it takes to lead Tanzania, highlighting a track record of 2 decades of public service and concrete achievements that he says make him a true and committed servant of the nation. As quoted here saying, "The various positions I have held make me a worthy candidate. I fought for reforms inside CCM and realized it was impossible. ACT Wazalendo is where I can continue this fight on behalf of the people." That is Luhaga Mpina, ACT Wazalendo presidential candidate. TANESCO to champion use of clean cooking energy, story on page 3. And on the top strip, Vodacom hosts sustainability dialogue as it marks 25 years, and that's the Citizen. Still in Uganda, gazeti la Mwananchi, urais wa saa 24 chini ya Mpina achora ramani ya uongozi wake akisema atatumia hotuba baada ya kiapo kutangaza mchakato wa katiba mpya kushughulika na mafisadi wote siku hiyo hiyo, azungumzia hatua za kujiunga na ACT. Anasema kwamba Mwenyezi Mungu atakapomjalia hiyo Oktoba akipata hiyo nafasi, na chama chake kimeelekeza kwamba ndani ya miezi 6 mchakato uwe umeanza, yeye Luhaga ataagiza jukwani pale baada ya kuwapa mchakato uanze. Habari kamili katika ukurasa wa 4 wa gazeti hili. Uraibu wa pombe unavyowapoteza vijana na ajira. Uraibu wa pombe unavyopotezea vijana ajira kule Tanzania, na wanasema kwamba wakati pombe ikitajwa kama moja ya vichocheo vya magonjwa yasiyoambukiza, athari zake kwa baadhi ya waajiri ni kubwa, wengi wakijikuta wanapoteza ajira. Kwa mujibu wa wataalamu wa afya, matumizi ya pombe kupita kiasi huathiri uwezo wa mtu kufanya uamuzi, kupunguza umakini na kuharibu afya ya akili, hali inayoathiri wengi. Habari hiyo ya TANESCO kuongoza njia ya nishati safi ya umeme, na Hesi aibuka ubunge Kongwa, vinara kura za maoni CCM vicheko. On the top strip, ADC ipo tayari kusaka urais, yagusa mtoto. Hatimaye mtiania wa nafasi ya urais wa chama cha ADC Wilson Mulumbe amechukua fomu na kuwa mgombea wa 15 katika vyama 18, na Heche amlilia msanii nyimbo za hamasa kule Chadema. These are the stories making headlines regionally. Let's take a look at the weather situation across various parts in the country, and we'll start off in Homa Bay County. As usual, the focus has been in Homa Bay throughout the week, all the way from Monday. Today it's 21 degrees. This morning feels like 24. Mostly cloudy day. Highs of 28 degrees in Homa Bay today, and precipitation today is 5.1 millimeters. It's likely to rain. Anasema, let's see, starting 9 p.m. Let's go to Machakos County. 15 degrees feels like it. A mostly cloudy day. Highs of 22 degrees in Machakos, and precipitation here 0.6 millimeters. We cross over to Muranga. It's 16 degrees. Cooling expected over the next 3 days. A mostly cloudy day. Highs of 26 degrees, and precipitation in Machakos today is 1.6. Muranga rather is 1.6 millimeters. Nakuru, Rift Valley region, 14 degrees, feels like 15 this morning. It's a partly cloudy day. Highs of 26 degrees, and it's likely to rain. Precipitation here is 4.1 millimeters. And Garissa now, 24 degrees, feels like 26, a cloudy day. Highs of 31 degrees, precipitation in Garissa 0.5 millimeters. And finally, weather in Nairobi, it's 14 degrees, cooling expected, slight cooling, expected over the next 3 days. A mostly cloudy day today, highs of 23 degrees, and precipitation in Nairobi 0.5 millimeters. That means Homa Bay is expected to receive the highest amount of rainfall today at 5.1 millimeters. It's 11 minutes past 6. Let's take a look at Friday traffic. This week, roads have been clear all the way from Monday to Angalie Leo, if at all there's anything to report. As you can see, today, in fact, nothing at all. Muthaiga interchange, these are just buses, nothing to report there. Just some yellow spotting. If you go all the way back to Thika Road, Kasarani area, clear all the way. Garden City Mall, clear. Kiambu Road, also clear. If you go way back to Regis, Thindigwa, clear roads as well. In town, this area around Kamukunji area, Landis Road, also building up slowly. Some red here, but these could be matatus. Jogoo Road, nothing much to worry about. This is normal for Jogoo Road. Just some yellow spotting and a little bit of red here, which we could assume could be matatus this morning. Manyanja Road also clear, nothing to report. This is Tasia area. There's some little red here, but nothing to report, nothing to worry about. If you go way back, it's green all the way on your way to town. If you go on the other side of town, Ngong Road, clear roads, people working from home, nothing to worry about here. Waiyaki Way also clear as well, nothing to worry about. Maybe we'll be back to take a look at the traffic situation at around 6:30 so that we can see if anything has changed. But let's take a look at the quote of the day.
The past holds no power over your future. It's always possible to begin again, to take a new path, and to reinvent yourself as the person you wish to become.
All right, let's come back and take a look at the local dailies. We start off with the Daily Nation this morning. It says, Mr. President exposed the corrupt MPs. Firestorm, President Ruto's warning to bribe-taking lawmakers has sparked controversy, with some MPs conceding the House had become a den of graft and others fighting back. Leaders now want the president to name and shame the rogue. Ruto's predecessor, Uhuru, in 2015 made public a list of shame, and yesterday, or the day after, on Wednesday, President William Ruto put the MPs on spot as those in the center stage of enabling corruption and paying committees of the National Assembly for favorable reports. He has been urged to make the list of shame. We take a look at that story, which has been covered on page 4 and 5. It says leaders have asked President William Ruto to forward the list of MPs he has accused of turning parliamentary committees into avenues for soliciting bribes to the anti-graft agency. And at the opening of the Devolution conference in Homa Bay on August 13, President Ruto accused some MPs of soliciting bribes from state officials to alter committee reports in their favor. Now, the president had made similar accusations a week earlier at a forum with the private sector, where he had blamed corporate executives of bribing MPs to influence policies and laws. And former Attorney General Justin Muturi, who said he had been a victim of rent seekers during his vetting for cabinet, and Kisii Senator Richard Onyonka, who said Parliament is a graft den, challenged him to take the evidence of corruption to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, EACC, for investigations. Raila backs governors to snub Senate, and ODM leader Raila Odinga has told senators they have no legal mandate to summon governors to answer to audit queries. Mr. Odinga says governors should account for their public spending before their respective county assemblies, a statement that is set to embolden MCAs. Mr. Odinga was a guest speaker yesterday at the Devolution conference. Other stories here. Catholic nuns win rare court battle with priests over school, and the High Court has ruled in favor of a group of nuns in a protracted case with priests over the ownership of Our Lady of Grace School in Kisumu. Franciscan Sisters of St. Anne Luak retained control of the school for the underprivileged children in Kajulu. On the top tip, why maths and science teachers have better chance for 24,000 TSC vacancies. It says TSC to give preference to applicants with science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, that is STEM qualifications. On the inside pages of this newspaper, festival winners head for state concert, and learners showcased creativity through songs and poems that touched on devolution, among other issues. Top performers will then head to Kampala, Uganda for the East African Music and Drama Festival, set to begin on August 17. These festivals were happening in Meru County this month. They ended sometime this week on Wednesday with the gala festivals. Relief at last, bullet removed from protester after 400 days and impeding justice. Police officers had initially refused to issue documentation required for Kinyanjui to be treated. On the back page of this newspaper, race against time to set up fan zones. This speaks of Chan, 6 fan zones that will be put up in Nairobi to prevent overcrowding and during March venues. And the government and Kenya's local organizing committees, that is LOC, for the 2024 African Nations Championship Chan, were yesterday racing against time to set up 6 fan zones across Nairobi ahead of Harambee Stars' final Group A match of the tournament. Harambee Stars play Zambia on Sunday at the 48,000-seater Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani, from 3 p.m. And that's the Daily Nation this morning. Taifa Leo, uchumba wa Ruto na Homa Bay. Sumaku, katika miaka mitatu ambayo amekuwa mamlakani, Rais Ruto amezuru Homa Bay zaidi ya mara 9, hasa kwa ajili ya miradi kabambe ya maendeleo. Hata hivyo, ziara hizo pia zimezua mjadala mkali kuhusu siasa za uchaguzi mkuu wa mwaka 2027. Rais ameonekana kuvutiwa zaidi na kaunti hiyo na uongozi wake, hata kumpita kwa mbali Uhuru aliyependa Kisumu. Ziara yake imetajwa hapa katika ukurasa wa mbele. Anasema Oktoba tarehe 2 mwaka 2022 alienda kule katika ibada ya maombi mjini Homa Bay. Januari mwaka 2023 uzinduzi wa ujenzi wa nyumba za bei nafuu na soko la manispaa. Julai mwaka huo maombi ya shukrani ya katibu wa wizara Raymond Omolo. Oktoba mwaka huo Rais azuru kisiwa cha Mfangano, uzinduzi wa Victory Farms, Sindo na kufungua ofisi za UDA katika kaunti hiyo. Agosti mwaka uliopita alizuru Homa Bay na kuahidi kufanya mji huo kuwa jiji. Pia azindua soko la samaki, na vile Desemba mwaka jana alizuru kaunti hiyo akiandamana na Raila Odinga kuhudhuria shindano la Genoa Governors Cup. Februari mwaka huu Ruto alialikwa kama mgeni wa heshima katika kongamano la uwekezaji la Homa Bay chuoni Tom Mboya University. Juni mwaka huu Rais aliongoza sherehe ya Madaraka Day, na vile Agosti mwaka huu Ruto afungua kongamano la ugatuzi. Wanasema uchumba wa Ruto na Homa Bay. Habari kamili katika ukurasa wa pili wa gazeti hili. Vidokezo zaidi, namna ya kukabiliana na kifafa. Wataalamu wasema mbali na matibabu pia ushauri wa kisaikolojia ni muhimu. Gachagua katiza ziara yake ghafla, asema anarejea kutoka Amerika ili kunyoosha mambo ya chama na kujiandaa kwa kura. Masala ya spoti pale, Harambee kusubiri zaidi kufuzu. Hii ni baada ya Morocco kushinda Zambia katika mechi ya jana na kukaribia Stars kwa alama. Kule juu, majonzi 25 waliokufa ajalini wakizikwa wikendi, na waathiriwa hao ni kati ya abiria 54 waliokuwa wanaelekea mazishini Nyehera wiki jana. Ligi kuu ya EPL yang'oa nanga hii leo na mabingwa Liverpool wawaalika Bournemouth usiku wa leo. Habari kamili katika ukurasa wa 20 Na hiyo ni gazeti la Taifa Leo. The Standard, ridiculous displays, embarrassment, millions sunk into a glittering jamboree of convoys, luxury hotels and joyriders. The Homa Bay Devolution Conference has exposed a grotesque pageant of waste. Governors rolled in with fleets of fuel-guzzling Prados, aides flashing designer watches, and delegations of up to 100, yet counties' stands lay bare. Bungoma's display was a governor's chair and unpacked phones. Kisumu offered biscuits and books. Siaya brought 4 pieces of dried fish from a private trader, as Baringo displayed a few tins of honey and pamphlets. Taxpayers picked up the tab as the leaders reviewed the success of the meeting. This series on page 4, ridiculous displays at the Devolution Conference in Homa Bay County. And they say county and national leaders congregated in Homa Bay to showcase their best. However, almost all fell flat. Some had empty stalls, others bribed merchants to pose as officials displaying wares, while others had nothing but the governor's seat to show the world. Governor's fleet at the Devolution Conference in Homa Bay. The county bosses travelled with entourages of more than 50 people. On the inside pages of the Standard this morning, that is the only story given prominence on the front page. They speak of ridiculous displays at the Devolution Conference. Tukiangalia ndani, court rejects employment till death petition, upholds set retirement age. KU confirms its prowess on stage with Trophy Hall at Music Festival, and with over 56 entries, the university established itself as prolific team at the Jamboree, and Daystar University is making inroads at the festival with Moses Alubala showing the way. Raila wants counties to handle education up to secondary level. Gachagua set to return from US next week, Thursday, amid arrest claims. And Kenyans hunt for deals as night budgets squeeze buying power. On the back page, Reds splash out 45 billion shillings to secure Premier League top dog status. And Liverpool has spent around 42.2 billion shillings in transfer window so far. Slots men face Bournemouth in EPL opener tonight. That's the Standard. The Star, rebels vow to snub Ruto, Raila joint meet with MPs, and Top Guns eager to rally lawmakers behind their deal. This story is on page 6 of the Star, the Weekend Star. They say MPs Babu Amisi vow to snub Ruto and Raila joint State House meet. They say the PG meeting is a betrayal of their political ideologies. Other stories here on the front page, jackpot couple, we had to change phone numbers. And before Boni Kamau was unveiled as a jackpot winner on Wednesday, he was already tired of answering his phone. And this story is on page 2. It's a special feature and coverage for Boni Kamau, who won 424 million shillings as SportPesa mega jackpot. Ex-REREC boss locked up for 4 years over forged master's degree. And audit flags industrial scale CDF looting under MP's watch. Key highlights of NGCDF audit 2024. They say 2.1 billion shillings unsupported bursary disbursement, 1.7 billion shillings irregular distribution of bursary funds, 7.4 million shillings misclassified bursary expenditures, 23 million shillings misclassified expenditure, 21.5 million unauthorized bursary expenditure, 1.3 billion unsupported expenditure in 99 units, 3.6 billion shillings unsupported bank balances, 427 million shillings unconfirmed cash balances, and 548 million shillings unreturned to CDF board account, according to this newspaper. That's the Weekend Star, fresh, independent, different. On the top strip, Matter Sports, hearts on fire as cities pulse builds before Kenya versus Zambia game on Sunday. People Daily, IDs, Ruto's hidden card in border areas, and political observers believe President is betting that dismantling old guardrails can deliver equality and secure an electoral age in 2027 elections. That story is on page 4. 12 counties on the spot, over 230 million shillings impressed. That story is on page 6, and we see that this was revealed yesterday at the Devolution conference. The ODM leader Raila Odinga here on the front page with Homa Bay Governor Gladys Wanga and the COG Chair Abdullahi Ahmed during the Devolution conference yesterday in Homa Bay County. On the top strip, how Moyale kicked cruel practice of feeding donkeys on cannabis. That's the People Daily this morning. And finally, Matters Business Daily. Investors offer record 323 billion shillings for bond in race for big returns. They say deep-pocketed investors offered the government a record 323.4 billion shillings in the August infrastructure bond sale as they scramble to lock in its attractive tax-free return amid the Central Bank of Kenya's aggressive push to lower interest rates. And the huge offers also reflected a highly liquid market resulting from slow growth in lending by banks and elevated cash holding by individuals and companies as they wait for the economy to improve before making new investments. This story is on page 2 of the Business Daily. Mbadi eyes the 4 billion shillings for farms behind the prison walls, and the Treasury has proposed a seed capital of 4 billion shillings for establishment of a prison enterprise fund, which will oversee production and sale of goods made by inmates. On the ticker, Gadungu says a 4.1 billion shillings CDF bursaries cash lost, and at least 4.1 billion shillings reported as bursary payments to the National Government Constituency Development Fund cannot be traced, putting MPs on the spot over mismanagement of the kitty. Cooperative banks' net profit jumps to 14.1 billion shillings, and banks face bumpy ride on subdued credit demand. That's the Business Daily. Once again, Fred will be hosting Vikings Bondo, MCA West Kasipul Ward, and Kevin Osido, Governance Specialist and Executive Director at County Governance Watch, on Devolution Conference 2025. This is the last day of the conference. This will be coming your way any minute from now. And later on, Eric Kiniti will also be joining us on the show. That is EABL Corporate Relations Director, on empowering MSMEs through sustainable financing and market linkages. This is in line with today's theme for the conference. Let's take a look at the caricatures. This is the Standard. The MPs have been caricatured here alongside a journalist. And the journalist asked, the president accuses you of soliciting for bribes. Response from the MPs is, Madam, even kids learn from observing what their seniors do every day. That's the Standard. This is the Star. Once again, a former Prime Minister, former Deputy President, I beg your pardon, that is Rigathi Gachagua, was cut off his U.S. tour, the 2-month-long U.S. tour, supposed to jet back to the country next week, Thursday. And he says, wait, did someone say by-elections? That's the Star. No, this is the Daily Nation. Yes, Daily Nation. Now the Star speaks of devolution, and Raila Odinga has been caricatured here. He says, as the father, don't summon my child. Matters devolution, and that story was covered on one of the newspapers this morning. Speaking of the Senate and how Raila Odinga has defended, he says ODM leader Raila Odinga has told senators that they have no legal mandate to summon governors to answer to audit queries. As the father, don't summon my child. That is Raila Odinga. And finally, People Daily, victims of protest, matters compensation, still being talked about here, even as there is a team that has already been put in place to oversee this, being led by Macau Mutua. Let's cross over to Homa Bay County. My colleague Fred Ndimuli is already on standby. We find out what he has in store for us this morning. Fred, good morning. How are you today? And what do you have in store for us?
It's been a whole week here in Homa Bay, and today we landed Today is the fourth and last day of the Devolution Conference 2025 happening in Homa Bay County, county number 43. Today we'll just be taking a look at what are the takeaways, some of the takeaways from this conference. And already on set, I have a member of the County Assembly of Homa Bay. This is Vikins Bondo, is the MCA West Kasipul Ward here in Bondo County, as well as someone who's familiar to Morning Cafe, Kevin Osido is a governance specialist and the executive director, County Governance Watch. We'll just be taking a look at some of the pronouncements, especially what the Honorable former Prime Minister Raila Odinga said about devolving education all the way till secondary school, and what that would mean for devolution. 12 years on, what exactly, where exactly are we, and going forward, what do we take away from this conference? This is what we'll be talking about after the break. You're watching Morning Cafe.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth, as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwa watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth, as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water.
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50 going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just a thought.
All right, good morning once again. My name is Fred Indimuli. This is indeed Morning Cafe. It is a feel-good Friday, but we also Continuing with our special coverage of the Devolution Conference 2025, all the way in Homa Bay County, county number 43. Yes, initially I'm told this place used to be called Mushwalami. Now everything has changed, and if you look at this county, it is indeed the county of endless potential. We'll be talking about that because the theme of this year's Devolution Conference is For the People, for Prosperity, Devolution as a Catalyst for Equity, Inclusion and Social Justice. A lot of deliberations in the main plenary and as well as breakout tents have happened since Wednesday this week after the President William Ruto officially opened this conference. Yesterday, the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga gave a keynote address to the plenary here. He made some interesting pronouncements. We'll be looking at them here with my panelists. And today we do expect Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki to officially close this conference. Also, we do expect a communique from the Council of Governors on what has transpired here and what to take away from this conference. But before that conversation, we do have some people who've been attending the conference this entire week. On my immediate left, we do have Vikins Bondo, who's a member of the County Assembly of Homa Bay, representing West Kasipul Ward, karibu sana, Bwana Bondo, and Kevin Osido, Governance Specialist, who is Executive Director, County Governance Watch.
Thank you so
karibu
much.
sana, Bwana Osido. And Vikins, your experience here, I know you were born in Homa Bay. I assume you were born in Homa Bay. Have you ever seen Homa Bay this busy ever in your life?
I must admit that this is one of a kind. This is something that has never been witnessed in Homa Bay. We've had influx of visitors, very many vehicles on our roads, a lot of people here and there. So I must admit, for the first time, we are seeing a very, very huge and enormous event that has continued for a continuous period of 3 days. We've had several occasions, several events, like Madaraka Day, which was very electric, but it was a one-day event. For us, having this 3-day event, I must admit, is something very serious, something personally that I have never witnessed in Homa Bay County, to be specific.
And the kind of development that has happened over the last few months as you prepared for this event, what does it mean for the people of Homa Bay?
It has been very great, and a lot of things, you see, when we have such kind of an event, a lot of preparations are being done, movement here and there, a lot of people being brought on board, a lot of development projects being initiated. And so it is something that cuts across all the spheres, people being brought together, development, like for example, the place we are hosting this Devolution Conference, has also seen a lot of development projects initiated, things that when the Devolution Conference comes to an end, will still remain for us as a people. And even the things that are still continuing as the devolution continues, I think it has impacted positively the lives of the people of Homa Bay.
Yeah. We arrived a few days before the Devolution Conference kicked off, and you could see a lot of preparations, especially as far as the construction of roads.
Yeah.
And you've seen widening of roads. How was the situation before?
Homa Bay town constituency, where we are, is part of Homa Bay County, and is the headquarters of Homa Bay County, to be specific. Homa Bay County, or rather say Homa Bay Town, we had poor roads. A lot of projects were never seen before. But with the coming of Madaraka for the start, and now the Devolution Conference, many roads have been opened. In fact, when you walk around the town, you see a lot of roads. We used to have Maram roads, but right now we have tarmac roads. And you've also seen a lot of development projects initiated around the headquarters, purposely for this Devolution Conference. The lights that have been put in place, the roads,
street lights.
Yes. Yeah, when you get to Homa Bay Town, it's like a city. Yeah, it's like a city. And when you came to Homa Bay maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and you are here today, you will be surprised with a lot of changes that have been seen. And especially with this function, with the coming of this function, it has now gone extra. Yeah, it has gone extra. And I think our people really appreciate what is being seen in the streets of Homa Bay. When you came to Homa Bay, we didn't even have the dual roads. Yeah, but now when you get to Homa Bay, as you approach the town itself, it's a very, very, very complete change with what we used to have.
The main road that goes through Homa Bay all the way to the lake.
Exactly.
Is now a dual carriageway.
Dual carriageway. Yeah. dual carriage.
But also, this is definitely the kind of dream that we envisioned with Devolution, what we are seeing in Homa Bay.
Precisely. And, you know, Fred, first of all, thank you for this opportunity. And the kind of image that Wickens is describing is purely what Kenyans expected and still expect. The challenge has been in part of what the conversations have been going on here, and especially insofar as what we call Schedule 4, the devolution of full devolution of certain functions. And if you heard the former Prime Minister yesterday, he was very categorical around roads and CDF and the role of the county governments and also National Assembly. So our parliamentarians at the National Assembly, and part of what these resources are supposed to do. And the example of what has happened in Homa Bay is a pure, clear picture around what can happen if you devolve those resources and allow the planners, the local planners at the county government, to be able to manage their decisions, manage their resources, and ultimately decide how that is done. And so there are, of course, challenges insofar as those devolution of functions is concerned, and therefore who is supposed to do those assignments. Because here, therefore, what it means is that you devolve even the decision making of the locals. Because the contractors are not people who are coming from Missouri, where I come from. They are locals who are experienced, and you hear him saying he was born and bred here. So it means that they have the clear image of the suffering that they have had to go through in the past. And true to the fact, this road from Rongo, Rodi, all the way to Mbita, never used to be there. And even the kind of picture that, because I worked in this area around 2005, 7, 8, at the time when post-election violence was happening. I was an officer with the American people, USAID, and so running through health facilities, dispensaries, and different areas. And there was totally no road here, Fred. And even the one that you'd say was a road was very narrow, so much such that even the crisscross of vehicles, so like lorries, buses, you had to stop or slow down, purely really slow down, so that the lorry can pass, because otherwise you cause an accident. And so with the kind of work that is going on, we believe that if county governments can be able to be fully empowered to be able to understand the scope of what they can be able to do, Homa Bay Town and Homa Bay County is a pure picture of really what county governments and local decision making can be able to do, and that is just around roads. Now, what therefore the road infrastructure can be able to do in terms of opening up the place. We've just been talking about the resorts that have been newly put up around the lake basin, the lake region. All those are only possible because you have, a clear infrastructure that therefore can be able to enable people to link up with each other, movement of goods and services. And I believe that with that kind of an experience, then the expectations of most Kenyans around devolution would then be where they really wanted devolved governance to get to.
So if we may look back at the last 12 years of devolution, since the advent of now county governments, Wickens,
yes,
are you optimistic going forward from your perspective as now a legislator within the county? Are you optimistic about the future of devolution? There are very many critics who say that some of these units are not even economically viable and probably they should be collapsed. But from your perspective, are you optimistic about the sustainability of these devolved units?
Thank you. What I know is that each and every concept, when initiated, must have challenges and must also have the positive impacts. And therefore, it is not wrong to assert that since the inception of devolution, as a country, as counties, we've had challenges. But that notwithstanding, there are also very clear and positive things that we appreciate devolution for. And one of the objects of devolution, as espoused in our constitution, I think that's chapter 11 from Article 174, is to decentralize services and to bring that self-governance to the people. We've been able to see that for the last 12 years, that the creation of the counties has enabled the people down here to elect their own leaders, to participate and to be in the decision-making table as to what revolves around them. They make decisions on who leads them, on who governs them. They make decisions on how they need to be led. and the projects that are supposed to be initiated. So this has gone wide in the entire the 47 counties that we have. So I can say for a fact and with great certainty that I'm very positive, I'm very optimistic that devolution is the right way to go. It is something that has brought a lot of change to the people, and you are well aware that before devolution, things were centralized. When you had to access a service, when you wanted to see maybe enormous development projects, maybe you will go to the capital city of the country for you to access crucial services, for you to access crucial documents, for you to maybe see an enormous project that is being done by government that is supposed to impact on the lives of the people. But with the devolution, you access the services have been brought closer to you, the self-governance has been brought closer to you, and the projects that maybe will have been just seen in other places can now be seen right at your doorstep. For example, the projects that we've been able to do in Homa Bay County, to be specific, there are things that before the 12 years we couldn't see them, and so I'm very very optimistic that devolution is the way to go.
Okay.
Yeah, it is the way to go.
Earlier this week, I hosted the chair of the Council of Governors here on the same set, and we're discussing that issue, the kind of criticism that has come towards this devolution, the structure that we have currently. That economic viability does not seem to have been a thought.
Yeah.
And he said that yes, indeed, maybe it wasn't, but that is by design, because the issue is that the need was to devolve services, not really economic viability. So are we saying that the critics are a bit misplaced in their argument?
Fred, that's correct. And this misplacement largely erupts from what I would probably narrow down into lack of an effective management of financial resources. And if you engage a majority of those who are not for devolution, then their biggest excuse is that probably governors are stealing, so theft of the devolved funds. But the converse is also right, that there are areas in this country that the kind of services that they have been able to receive, the kind of even economic activities that they have been able to experience as locals, citizens waking up to engage in their activities, are opportunities that, were it not for devolution, they would never have even dreamt of them. Because one, we have kiosks that have been put up by county governments. And even before you talk about kiosks, we've just been talking about the infrastructure, the roads infrastructure. That even as you think about putting up a kiosk, you have to imagine what would happen as people walk or transport goods into that kiosk. We have markets that have been put up purely because of devolution, and is largely because markets and those kind of trade, basically the entire trade framework is devolved. And so to the critics, they are a little bit misplaced, of course taking note of part of the experiences which we have already shared. But the beauty is that we also have institutions. So even as I talk about one of the biggest excuses, which is theft of these devolved funds, is to ask ourselves, what is EACC doing? The Constitutional Commission that is charged with the war on graft. What is the DCI doing? What is DPP doing? And how does that therefore relate to the work that county governments are supposed to be doing? True to the fact also is that if you look at part of why the critics could be right, is so that even as we finance devolution, Fred, we have about three main sources of funding. We have the equitable share that comes from the national government, part of what has also been a big debate here on delays of disbursements and all those issues. Then we have loans and grants. So development partners who like something that a county is doing can be able to get into, a contract, or they sign an MOU, and the national government has structures through which counties can also be funded. There are services through grants and even loans. Of course, loans, because of the guaranteeing perspective, I know it's also been an ongoing conversation around who needs to guarantee a county if it is taking a loan from, for example, the World Bank or any other investor, among others. Then the last one, which is part of the biggest conversation, which is probably why the critics would be right, is what is called on-source revenue. So the potential for our county governments, going up to almost 3 times what they receive from equitable share has not been fully captured. And if you look at why, in my view, this is happening, and based on some research that County Governance Watch has done and also other agencies, and I'm happy that I think it was the chair of the Council of Governors or even the president who spoke about one industry per county. Now, that is a resource that if we can be able to take some time and think about it, because that's one thing that we have been talking about, that we do not have to see people graduating or coming from whatever sectors they are coming from to go and look for jobs in Nairobi or any other 3 big cities of the Republic of Kenya. But that if we can be able to put up industries and opportunities where investments can happen. And part of that, Fred, is a research which needs, and in fact it has been done, what kind of potential rests in which county. If you come to Homa Bay here, we know that it is blue economy. But why must the fish from Lake Victoria here be taken all the way to Thika to be reprocessed? You imagine the number of tractors that we see on our roads carrying fish in cold rooms, being transported. Why can't we do a fish industry so that farmers who also do poultry, like myself and my mom in the village, we don't have to wait for chicken feeds that have been processed elsewhere to be ferried back, and then we buy a bag of 10 kgs at 3,000 shillings plus. These are things which, in my view, if we can be able to exert that potential for counties and just industrialize. If you go closer by, about 40 minutes away from here, you are in Kisii Town. And Kisii Town, imagine the soapstone industry, the MSMEs that organize themselves, and they do very exciting work. Inside this table, you see some pebbles, and look at how nicely done this table has been, And if we can be able to build the capacity of those local industries, so that the conversation is integrating the national government, big conversations on funding small and micro enterprises. And then we connect these small, women groups, youth groups from like Kisii and their soapstone. And then we put up a soapstone industry in Kisii beyond the coffee and the tea that is happening in Nyamira and the other areas. I believe, Fred, that these would be mechanisms that can be able to transform our counties to beat the challenge of economics. And as I finish, is this bigly, bigly is not English, but this overrated conversation around county, the CAIPs, County Agrarian Industrial Parks. For how long will we have conversations over industrial parks that locals no longer see? We have youth coming up with big innovations every day, but there is no support mechanism at that level. How do you grow whatever innovation you have? Every day you are channeled, and others normally give us nice stories of young men who are making small helicopters, and they use very common minimal materials. But there is nowhere they can go to in the counties and say, that this is what imagination or dream I have to make a chopper or a helicopter. Can you help me build this dream? And these are opportunities, Fred, that in my view, if we can be very much concerned about the county agrarian industrial parks, the CAIPs that the national government through the office of the DP are talking about, and with a very strong engagement of policies and laws at the county level, then there is no reason we'll be beating the critics and we will not give them any excuse to fight devolution.
Yeah, criticism is definitely there, but if I could use the analogy of a baby who's born, at 12 years, this is a baby who's just about to enter puberty. Yeah. And so it's still a child. Yeah. A child. Once you get to the teenage years is when you start growing. Probably we'll continue looking at taking stock of devolution 12 years on. You're still watching Morning Cafe, our special coverage of the Devolution Conference 2025. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back to continue with this conversation.
world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water.
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Conference 2025 in Homa Bay County, county number 43, today being the very last day. We do expect Professor Kithure Kindiki, the Deputy President, to officially close this Devolution conference. Probably during that we'll get the conversation on what exactly are the takeaways from this conference. But I'm still here on set with Vikins Bondo, MCA West Kasipul Ward here in Homa Bay, and Kevin Osido, Executive Director, County Governance Watch. Now, let's take a look at some of the pronouncements made here and how consequential they are, because yes, during the Devolution Conference 2023, which was held in Western Gishu County, the President promised that he committed to ensure that all the functions that were set to be devolved would be devolved. And as of December 2024, he signed a document to that effect. And when he opened officially this event here, he said that yes, he had done his part, that he had devolved all the functions that were to be devolved. But the question is it the reality on the ground? Because the budgets do not seem to talk to that, Vickens.
Thank you very much. I think the conversation about devolving the function that was still held in abeyance by the national government is long overdue. It is a conversation that we've had for a very long time, and it has been pushed. The right former Prime Minister has been at the forefront of pushing for the full devolution of all the services that are supposed to come to the county government. And I think on my end, the county government has been doing great things on the ground, and as I elucidated in the introductory remarks, there are things that are outlined in the Constitution that are specifically and purposely for the county government. And taking a stock of what has been happening in Homa Bay, I can admit and say with great certainty that the functions that have been scheduled in the Constitution have actually been seen on the ground, right from the schools to do with primary education, the ECDs that the county government is engaged in. Homa Bay County, for instance, right now, for the last two and a half years, has managed to build close to 241 classrooms for ECDs. We have the county roads that we've been able to maintain, a lot of kilometers that we've done as a that has been done as a county government of Homa Bay. The health facilities, the basic health facilities that we've been having, a lot of infrastructural development has been done to them. The markets that we have that deals with the issues to do with the trade, I think where there have been no markets, a lot of markets have been placed to ensure that we provide a safe place for transacting business with the locals. And it is something that cuts across from all the functions that are supposed to be undertaken by the county government. Now, the national government, just as has been said by the President of the Republic of Kenya, should be committed, and not just committed in paper or in document, but it should be something that should be actualized on the ground, so that we are able to see the full decentralization of these services to the county. The county has the mandate, the county has that capacity to roll out these functions to the locals at the county government. And one of the remarks that I had that was mentioned by the Prime Minister was about the roads. We've had 1,000 and plus kilometers that have been done, but they have been marrammed, and there are certain funds that have been left with the national government. We have the Kera, we have the Kura, we have the Kenya. I also share the same view with the former Prime Minister, that these are monies that are supposed to be brought to counties. Because if these monies are supposed to be ensuring that roads are being done in the entire country, the country is made up of these counties, and therefore there is no need of maintaining some funds at the top where they're supposed to come to the bottom to help the people at the bottom. Because all these counties have roads that are supposed to be made, the monies can be decentralized to all these counties so that they don't have to depend on somebody sitting somewhere, just as the former Prime Minister was saying it, to make decisions on how these roads are supposed to be done. So I'm of the view that this function should be fully devolved, and to that effect, money should also follow them. Because we can say that this has been devolved, but there is no actualization of it due to lack of resources. And therefore, once you say that this has been devolved to a county, accompany it with money, accompany it with the resources, so that the project that is supposed to be delivered at the county is also commensurate to the resources that have been allocated to it, so that it doesn't appear as a theoretical concept that is done on paper without actualization on the ground.
And the challenge, Bonosili, is that such conferences and such forums could end up actually doing a disservice to devolution, that they provide a platform for people to come pay lip service, promise, make commitments, sign documents, and make very huge pronouncements that are inconsequential. Now the devolution conference is biannual. They stopped having it every year. But does it make sense for us to wait 2 years for us to come and make the same pronouncements that were made in 2023?
Fred, it doesn't have to be that way, and we don't have to keep paying lip service to commitments that have been made, especially in such multi-level conversations. I know that because I have served as a member of the steering committee in some of the conferences in the past. And part of the conversations around changing from an annual event to a biennial conference was so that we also give time to implement some of the commitments that have been made, and also allow for time for certain things that need to be done as foundational baselines. For example, policies. Some policies take longer, and within a year you might not even have passed a law, to be able to do certain things. So the thinking around the biennial conferences was a very good thought. And I remember that at that point in time, we also introduced as civil society a framework, therefore, to monitor the kind of commitments that have been put in place. And that is when the Council of Governance launched the very instrumental Marifa Center, which now at a click of a button, you can be able to see what kind of work is going on in which county and what kind of reports they're also generating. And probably before I get to the details of that, is to also thank the Council of Governors, because you realize that this is one of the most inclusive conferences. And I say that because as someone who has never missed any of the devolution conferences since 2014 in Kwale, this is one that we have had a heavy interest of non-state actors, because the past conferences, other than the first one, was largely for counties and governors. And of course we understand, because there were teething problems. I remember the inaugural chair, Governor Isaac Ruto, ever fighting with the president over who is more superior, which flag needs to be flown, is it national or county? And so a lot of growth and a lot of processing has had to go into these things, where now we can actually pride ourselves and say that all the stakeholders of governance are sitting together and they are discussing. And even as civil society, because I know yesterday, because we do a lot of work with persons with disabilities, we launched the county disability inclusion report in tent 4 with the National Council for Persons with Disabilities and other stakeholders. And as County Governance Watch, we also launched a report on FLOCA. So FLOCA is financing locally led climate change actions. Yeah. And this is funding that comes from the World Bank, through the National Treasury and other partners like KfW from Germany, among others. Now, why this is important, Fred, is because you cannot get governors to attend your workshops in Nairobi. They are very busy, probably doing nothing or very engaged in their county businesses. But when you bring everyone on the table, where you can sit with Governor Kakamega, FCPA, and you tell him, Your Excellency, you are the chair of the Finance Committee. And as County Governance Watch, we have been following through, disbursements, and some counties are doing very well, others are not doing very well. As you sit as a committee of governors, what do you see? That is a conversation that it might take you 8 months, probably to look for Governor, Fernandez Baraza, the chair of the Finance Committee, to be able to have it. So the beauty of bringing everyone here on board, and there are also some stories, success stories that are happening that probably we are not seeing, where development partners in those the VIP pavilion, they are signing MOUs with counties to be able to fast track development processes and also support to certain critical services that are being done by these particular county governments and also partners. And I know that we were here with you. You hosted some of them here, the KCB, and also Food for Africa, I think.
Food for Education.
Yeah, Food for Education. And so, and many other exciting stories that are going on. So we are very grateful that this has been opened, and especially because of the theme, which is for people, for prosperity. And then you break it down, because every day has had a theme. We had good governance and accountability on day one. Yesterday we had what is called human rights and social justice, where we had, like the PS from the Office of the Attorney General giving us a record on some of the human rights responses to violations that Kenyans have experienced, among many other conversations. Today, we are talking about financing inclusion, so the financing aspects. And we are hoping that this, therefore, is a platform that will continue to grow to be able to embed. And so it really bothers some of us when important conversations like these ones are just pushed under the table, and we think that it is lip service. And that when we talk about critical issues like the one you're asking on devolution of functions, why don't you just be a gentleman who will keep to your word and ensure that it is done, because all the attendant laws to be able to ensure that functions are devolved, Fred, they are there, they have been put in place. In our side event, together with other organizations like ACT and Twaweza Africa, we were having a discussion with the IGRTC, the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee, the one that is actually tasked to be able to look at what functions have been devolved, which ones have not, how do we devolve them. And it is true that the President's Gazette notice was a big discussion, because even the 60 days that the President spoke about, we agreed that it is not new, because this is something that in every conversation the President keeps talking about, 60 days to fully devolve. But where is the challenge? Why can't we get the critical people to be able to do this work? And we note that, for example, failure to devolve some of those functions, Fred, is denying county governments monies. For example, we're talking about close to 258 billion for certain critical services. And those are just services that probably Kenyans might not even understand, because it is not in their business to check who is supposed to ensure that madaktari wako kwa hospitali. Serikali ni serikali, na ni sababu katiba imenakili who is supposed to do roads and what kind of roads. And Vikins has talked about Kura and Kera. Why do we have this duplicity of this road class A is for Kera, is for who, Kenha, Nini. The Kenyan that we spoke about, and he shared the story of Homa Bay when he was growing up and there were no roads, is not concerned about who is supposed to do those things. But because our constitution and the wisdom of the Council of Governors and other players have given us the Devolution Conference, it therefore needs to be a platform where we look at the critical conversations, the things that are supposed to make devolution really be for people and for prosperity. So that, for example, conversations with the healthcare, where doctors are perennially threatening to strike, simply because wengine hawajapewa, they have not been paid. Some doctors, I know even up to yesterday, some counties are still saying we don't have money to pay our healthcare workers. It is not supposed to be like that, especially when we talk about 12 years into devolved governance. And as I finish, Fred, we have done some bit of an analysis on some of these functions, and I'll be sharing, for example, under agriculture, that since 2014 to 2023, 2024, because those are the audit budgets, the audits that are available. We are dragging about 2 to 3 years back into our audit system. Agriculture alone has received approximately 851 billion as a sector, and the national government remained with 657 billion. The county governments were given 194 billion across the 47 counties.
Yet agriculture is a fully devolved function.
Agriculture is a fully devolved function, and the constitution only says that policies therefore should be left to the national government. Why do we hold 88, close to 78% of the money that is devolved, to national government? Talk about healthcare. Over almost a trillion, and county governments have been given 924 billion. The county governments, national government remained with 862 billion. So at least there's a bit of progress going on there, and we know where those successes are, which of course we still indicate that health is fully devolved. So let us ensure that health is fully devolved, so that all these 48% of the resources that national government is still holding. And I saw my good friend Dr. Uluga here, though he rushed right behind Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga. I wanted to ask him the successes that, and then finally is on transport, and we've talked about roads. And if you look at the money, is 310 billion against what national government has given to counties, which is 12%, which means that 88% of that money is still being held by the national government. So we are making good progress, but many steps again.
Right. And now that the situation is like that, we're hearing some very interesting proposals. Now you mentioned the former Prime Minister. Yesterday made a very interesting proposal that education should be also a devolved function beyond the ECDs, primary, secondary level, all the way to the secondary level, that it should be devolved. With the kind of challenges we've seen, are we getting excited? I know the former Prime Minister is one of the greatest supporters of devolution. But do you feel that probably we are there yet? that we could also ask for education to be devolved?
No, just as been said by my friend, and you also correctly said it, we are 12 years into growth. And therefore there are certain things that we are still trying to develop, and there are certain things that we are now improving on. And devolution, just as we mentioned before, was a new concept that was introduced by the promulgation of the new Constitution 2010. And therefore it is something that is now on the right trajectory because we are pursuing its full actualization. And as a matter of fact, and with things that I've been able to see, case study of Homa Bay County, there are good things that have been done, but the challenges that we have also seen. And these challenges, majorly, and Sid I think has talked about them, majorly has been occasioned by the delay in disbursement by the national government and the release of attendant monies and legislation towards the functions that are supposed to be done by the county government that are supposed now to be decentralized from the national government to the county government. It's like the national government and the county government are engaged in a push and pull kind of a thing, because they're saying we have given you this function, well, it is just documented. It is just documented with no actualization of that function. Secondly, it is theoretical, without being said on platforms in conferences such as this, but no money is attendant to it so that it can be actualized. We've seen very good things with the devolution, and I tried to elaborate things to do with the ECDs that we've been having, and that has been mandated by the Constitution of Kenya 2010 to enable us do things to do with ECD and pre-primary education. But to this extent, devolving education is a good thing to me. But unless attendant legislation and resources are also channeled to it, it will be something that will be it will not be practical.
It's a bit too soon to
exactly, a bit too soon to talk about. And this issue of education, I think, to digress a bit, is a challenge that has encompassed the entire country. When you go to the primary schools, when you go to the secondary schools, and you know, even in counties, you are not supposed to do. Last time there was some back and push about the bursary that is supposed to be given by the county government to secondary schools, and it was said that this is a reserve of the national government, and there's no way that the counties are supposed to come on board for this purpose. You saw there was a lot of tension between the Council of Governors and the national government, until there was certain meeting to try and come to an agreement about this. But to digress a bit, I think for issues to do with education, it is something that we can do as we try to monitor the actualization of the concept of devolution. But for now, my personal view, it is something that should be worked on by the national government. And to do with bursaries, I've also been of an opinion that has been shared by some of our colleagues, even in the national government and even in the Senate. We've been providing bursaries as a county government. We have presidential bursary. We have bursary that is being provided by the Office of the Women Representative. And I think a lot of government offices that are involved in provision of this bursary, these bursaries can be collapsed into one. It is an idea that has been shared by some other colleagues of mine, and I also share the same opinion. They can be collapsed from the county, the women rep, and all those offices, so that they're centralized at the government, and the government should operate them or should send them directly for capitation to schools, so that even the road towards the free education can be actualized. But to the extent that the bursary is given by the county, by the Office of the Women Rep, it also brings duplicity, because you find some student in the village, he or she has received bursary from the Women Rep, he or she has been lucky to receive bursary from the county government, he or she has been lucky to receive presidential bursary at the expense of others, maybe the others that haven't received even from one quarter, but the others that have received from the 3 or plus quarters that are available. So that can also be checked by the national government, so that it is something that there is a smooth flow of capitation towards school, so that there is that collapse of duplicity. And I find that that duplicity, it bars or hinders the real actualization of that core mandate of the counties and even the national government.
Yeah, and beyond it being just a potentially populist pronouncement by the former Prime Minister, do you feel that it holds some water right now, or is it, as Vicken said, a conversation we should have probably 10 years from now?
You know, Fred, that you already described devolution as a little child that is just about to get into adolescence, right? Yeah. Of puberty stage. And you imagine the amount of parental care, therefore, that particular child needs. The amount of conversations, the amount of just prepping, so that by the time I engage into teenhood or teenage, he or she is very clear. I'm a father of 3 girls, and I have a 12-year-old daughter. That means that she is probably the size of devolution in Kenya. But if I imagine the kind of support, the kind of conversations that my wife and I have to always keep talking about, you know, any small thing, umefika hapo, any small thing. Now, I am saying that to liken that with the proposition or the proposal to fully devolve education. And in my view, I buy into that kind of a proposal, especially given the kind of challenges that we have had with education in the current context, as Kenyans say, vitu kwa ground, as they are. And so that the biggest conversations that we have had here are in my view, 3, which include funding of education, both at national and county level. Number 3 is Teacher Service Commission roles and responsibilities, so hiring the general recruitment infrastructure for teachers. And then number 3 is now the school management, the details of what goes on in a school. And if you look at our constitution, there are aspects that are fully devolved. For example, ECD or early childhood education, development, education, pre-primary issues. We have concerns or interests with youth polytechnics. Yeah. You talk about the homecraft centers, among others. Now, those are like the foundational mechanisms for a child who is about to get a puberty, who is about to get into teenage. And so we've already described the kind of support and management that this requires. If you go to national government, the functions that are given there are largely primary, secondary, tertiary, also including, of course, Teacher Service Commission responsibilities as a constitutional commission, and also TVETs, the Technical Vocational Training Centers. But in all these comparisons, Fred, the biggest discussion and the worst disappointment have been 2. That one is on recruitment, where a few months to weeks to months ago, we even had of complaints by some teachers that, members or politicians are recruiting in public rallies and funerals, etc. Why is that happening? And then you juxtapose that with the politics, like what we see. So the politics of recruiting a teacher. Yeah. How will that feel when a governor is there, an MP seated there, and then the women rep who says, but basari ni yangu. So you recruit, may I have my ECD people, but how will they be financed? Now, that's a big conversation. On the other hand, you also have discussions around preparing these children. And we have seen, for example, even county governments who are innovating their bursaries. So as is rightfully said, you have a bursary from almost all the 6 political offices that we use to elect our leaders. Now, why I think, therefore, that the proposal by the former Prime Minister is ripe and real, in my view, is so that even as Vicken says that, yes, we can have this discussion 10 years in time, but how about now? Because we're already experiencing challenges. And these are not new challenges. They're challenges for which even conversations have taken place, Fred, up to the national level, where we have held conversations on what is called a National Conference on Education in Kenya. What does that mean for governors to sit there with the CS for education? And then when the budget comes, because for budget 2025-2026, education was the biggest winner at almost over 720 billion. What does that mean to the resources that are therefore taken to counties? And we all know that what goes to counties is a global budget, because it's not like national government where they say education 720, health maybe this, water like that. For counties, you are given a blanket budget. So it is for you to sit with your people to decide which one goes where, and then you play innovatively into that. So if we are going to ensure that education as a foundation for socioeconomic development, for people, for prosperity, as is the theme of this particular conference, then a very elaborate conversation needs to go into what do we need to fully devolve education. And beyond that is also the lack of effective infrastructure. There are counties in this country where schools exist in name. There is nothing to show. It's not like Homa Bay School that you will see everything rightfully put somewhere. In some places, here there are no trees. We have buildings, brick and mortar, but there are places where those trees are classrooms. And so you look at the budgets that county governments are putting in place against the investment by national governments, and so it therefore begins to persuade you to think that if we devolve education with everything that comes with running a school, from human resource to financial resources, even to assets like land, pieces of land, you have the decision therefore to decide how many classes you put up, how do you put them, and where do you put them. Because part of what CBE does, the curriculum-based education, is that you also have a stream on sports. There are schools in this country that do not have fields. So how is this talent supposed to be grown? And that yet this land, the asset, is in a county government. So big conversations, in my view. Interesting proposal. I know Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga has been that voice that speaks, and you begin to sprinkle water into what he's saying. I know he spoke about NGCDF, and the matter is actually, it landed in courts, you know. Now he's talked about education, and I know that there are education lovers who will like what he has talked about, particularly given the kind of experiences that our children are going through in our system of education.
And give it to him. The former Prime Minister has really been, and I mentioned it, that he's probably one of the biggest supporters of devolution. And that debate about NGCDF, he appears to be one of those people who really believes that that is duplicity, that the fact that MPs want to carry out development projects within their constituencies is wrong, that should be the function of the devolved units, the county governments. Don't you think that, yes, this is a kind of person we should be listening to when it comes to progression of devolution?
Yeah, I think to that extent, I want to agree. And it is very true that the former Prime Minister, Raila Amolo Odinga, has been at the forefront in championing for the actualization and practicality of the devolution. And give it to him, he has been at the forefront, and there are certain issues that he has talked about that we've seen come to materialize, and that some of them have also formed part of conversation that we've had as a country. About the education, I think for me, as I have elaborated, it's a discussion that we need to have, but we need to develop and nurture it towards actualization in some time. But it's a discussion, it's a conversation that needs to be we need to have. For anything that works for the greater good of the people, starts with a small and little conversation. So I think we are on the right trajectory. About the issue about the NGCDF, and from the perspective of a sitting member of County Assembly, if you're very keen, we've had a lot of push and pull about the Ward Development Fund. Yeah, and even the County Assembly's Forum, we met several stakeholders in a bid to ensure that the Ward Development Fund is also constitutionalized. It's also in the Constitution. And we've faced a lot of challenges. And the main challenge and the main critics have been of the opinion that the work of a member of County Assembly is to oversight and legislate and to represent. And when you see the functions of a member of County Assembly, they're more or less the same with the functions of a member of Parliament. Because the National Assembly, his work is to legislate, to represent his people, and also to do some oversight. And the AGCDF makes them gives them some latitude to initiate and actualize development projects in the ward with regards to NGCDF. And when you look at how NGCDF operates, majorly it can even operate without the Member of Parliament. The Member of Parliament is someone like a patron to it. And when the functions that they are doing, the things that they are doing well to the people who are in the same county they come from. Because these constituencies are in the county. And therefore, with the NGCDF being scrapped off, I want to agree with the right Honorable former Prime Minister 100%. And it is not because the Ward Development Fund has not been actualized, but it is just the same as the NGCDF.
But now that you brought it up, that's a Ward Development Fund.
Yes, yes.
It is the same debate, and I think this is something that people rarely talk about.
Yeah.
That county assemblies appear eager to probably practice some overreach. Coping bad behavior from the National Assembly. Do you agree that yes, county assemblies are becoming a bit wrong?
I can't agree per se about that. But you see, the functions of a member of county assembly or the county assembly as an institution the constitution is very clear on how it's supposed to operate. The county government acts and any legislation attendant to that is very clear on how it's supposed to operate. But to the extent that we need to copy how the National Assembly operates, maybe to the extent of championing for the Ward Development Fund, that could be the only correlation with the National Assembly.
I don't know about Homa Bay County Assembly, but quite a number of county assemblies have actually pushed governors to ensure that there's a form of Ward Development Fund that's not even based on the law, but they've held county executives
gentlemen's agreement.
Gentlemen's agreement.
and ensure this is happening. Don't you think that that is also a problem?
You know, the issue of the Ward Development Fund, just as the CDF started long ago, when you remember the Building Bridges Initiative, the BBI, it was greatly captured. And there is a day that in this country, the BBI that was supposed to in all the 47 counties, there is a day that almost close to 40 county assemblies passed the BBI. But it was because there was an incentive in that BBI. There was an incentive in that BBI about the Ward Development Fund. But the BBI didn't see the light of the day. And right now, we are well aware that the National Assembly is trying to constitutionalize the CDF, the women GAF, and even there is something that has been introduced as Senate Oversight Fund. So I do not want to agree that the assemblies have been wrong, but I want to agree to the extent that the county assemblies have seen the practices of the National Assembly and the Senate, and in that bid, they've also been trying to also implement what the others are implementing. But to the agreement that the county assemblies, the county governments that have made an agreement, some gentleman's agreement, as you say it, I do not think that is in order. Personally, I do not think that is in order, because the county executive implements the project. It is mandated to implement the projects in the county, in our wards. For us, the things that should concern us is the implementation, the oversight of the implementation of these projects. Because you can see in a situation where the county executive is implementing a road in your ward, at the same time, you also have a kitty that you're supposed to do another road in the same ward. That is duplicity.
And it's rare to hear a member of the county assembly talk about
conflict.
But don't you think that we run the risk of clawing back on some of the gains of devolution, if at all we could be coping some bad behavior from the National Assembly, especially when it comes to quite a number of the assemblies? This, I say, because a huge chunk of the county assemblies have actually actualized Ward Development Funds without any basis in law.
And you're right, Fred, you're right, because there is no law that supports Ward Development Funds.
Exactly.
And if you look at the struggles that parliamentarians, National Assembly reps have to go through, even to the extent of attempting to amend the Constitution, Article 204, to fit in, so that they can be able to protect their interests. A little bit of a concern that I have had is the role of the Member of Parliament, which is the biggest conflict in terms of their roles, so that you want to be an implementer. The oversighter is an implementer, but then the question that will beg is who will oversight the oversighter? But if you look at that law, Fred, including the amendment which was taken to public participation, there is nowhere where the MP is mentioned, including the fact that they call themselves patrons. Those are just names. But however, the biggest challenge is in how that fund is managed. It is true that there is a CDF committee in every constituency, and then you have the national government, the CDF board representatives at the constituency. So you have constituency CDF managers who are also supposed to be part and parcel of management of those particular funds. The challenge is that this manager is a PNP, is a public servant who does not necessarily come from that constituency. You can be sent in today. Of course, the expectation is that 5 years is a change, but you can be transferred. And that act, including the policies that govern CDF, have also expressly indicated how the board is supposed to relate to prioritization of projects funded by CDF.
Allow me to cut you short. We'll continue this conversation shortly. The issue of CDF and what the county assemblies are trying to do without any basis in law. You're watching our special coverage of the Devolution Conference 2025. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth, as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water.
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50 going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa
ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
All right, welcome back, and we want to land this conversation on Devolution Conference 2025. And as we wind up this conversation, we had begun this the role of the county assemblies and how they are supporting devolution or detracting the progress of devolution. And you had already started talking about their demand for a ward development fund.
Yes. And so therefore, just to continue the conversation, if you look at the practice at national level with NGCDF and how the challenges are, and biggest concern there have been the oversight role of county assemblies. So if it is about the bad manners that we have seen that is coming up from the National Assembly, then it would not be in order to have ward development funds. We know, for instance, that you will require a legislation to ensure that county assemblies have, one, the role of that particular fund, and even to put in place that fund. So if it is going to ensure or imagine that there is enhanced duplicity of roles, because you ask yourself, what would an MCA like Vikins want to do in a ward where already the county government through the executive is putting up water projects, roads projects, markets, kiosks, etc. Why therefore would you want to be involved in that?
Yes.
And I know that, for instance, the president, one of the laws that he signed here in Homa Bay was a county allocation of county allocation of revenue fund, which now gives even the county assemblies some bit of financial autonomy in terms of their work. That now they have some fund that I imagine is an oversight money to facilitate their work. So once you've already been capacitated, why do you want to have a resource that now takes you to implementation? So that, therefore, in my view, strengthens the role of the county assemblies insofar as the oversight work is concerned, and even representation, so that they are able to also boost the capacity of citizens insofar as public participation is concerned. You know, as it is right now, they struggle even to put up meetings for citizens. Facilitating them to be able to attend, even to prepare documents, because sometimes you have voluminous reports that you need to photocopy, prepare them into very simple, easy to understand communication materials, which they can't do with the kind of structures, because the monies which they have come from executive. And a lot of times, because we see the kind of relationships that governors and county assemblies have, where they always have to massage the egos of the county assemblies. And failure to do that, you realize budgets are not passed, a lot of things are not done.
And that's a problem, because since we're examining the role of the county assemblies, we've seen them wielding a lot of power.
Yes.
And some of this power could be considered even as overreach, the misuse of the impeachment
clause.
Demands against governors, basically holding the county executive at ransom. And one wonders, is our county assemblies really helping the progression of devolution or hindering it? We have a situation where in some counties there's even a governor, because of some of the relationships that are not working with his deputy and the county assembly, that is now even calling for the dissolution of the county. Do you think that some county assemblies have gone rogue, and in that they are not helping in the progression of devolution?
Yeah, I think, Fred, I think important to note is that member of county assembly, in as much as this is a public office, but it's a public office acquired through a political process. And that is also equally with the position of the governor, to serve the people, public office, state officer, but through a political process for you to get into that office. Sometimes what we see as a result of disagreement and political processes, because at times when the county assembly holds the county government and the government are at ransom, if you carefully try to investigate what has gone amiss, you will find that there's some political disagreement in between. And that is also the same with the governor and the county government. Sometimes they make delays of money to the county assemblies. Maybe at that point they also can hold the county assembly at ransom because of some political disagreement. And that has happened. And just as Kevin has said it, and which I want to also welcome highly, was the assent by the president on the county public finance laws that has now given the county assembly financial autonomy. This is a great step towards the county assembly exercising their independence, their oversight, and all the roles that are bestowed upon them. And for this reason, because there have also been a lot of lamentations that the county assembly cannot do a proper oversight because the governor will not release the funds to the county assembly. But now we are now beyond that, because moving forward, we are accessing that money as a county assembly, and that should now endear us to the people and do us that independence. About the county assembly promoting devolution, I think it will be a great disservice for us to have a county government and then limit the functions, the services, and the projects of that county government within a specified jurisdiction, and let's say, for this instance, the headquarters of the county. Yeah. For us to realize the concept of devolution, that local woman, that woman in the village, must understand and know what devolution is, and she must also feel the impact of devolution. When you have maybe a child at home, is he or she feeling the impact of devolution? And where does the county assembly come to ensure that this devolution is felt at the ground? One, as the county assembly, and to be specific, the county assembly itself, we do this through legislation. The legislation, pieces of legislation and policy works that we've done to enable this devolution to be felt on the ground. One, there's a policy we did about labor-based policy, and as you are well aware, the county executive is supposed to do the projects in our wards. But in this case, sometimes they do it through contractors, but we also introduced part and parcel of this program to do with the labor base, so that when we want to construct an ECD classroom in West Kasipul ward, it doesn't have to be given to a contractor. Yes, there are projects that are given to a contractor, but there are certain small projects that are now given to the locals. For example, when we do an ECD in West Kasipul ward, we transfer the money to the account of the school where we did the legislation to support that. And now a project management committee is formed, school taking part and even the locals taking part. And every part of construction of that classroom will be done by the locals. So I think for that area, the people will feel that devolution has come from the headquarters. Actually, the devolution has come from the national government, the county government, and now to the people. Okay. We also passed a legislation to do with the cluster formation in the villages, so that for any decision making, for any public participation that is supposed to inform the decision of the county government, it is done at the village. It is done at the cluster. Secondly, about still the county assembly supporting devolution. One, we support devolution through the approval of the budgets, because once the budgets have been drafted by the county executive, they're brought to the assembly. So for us to ensure that this devolution works, for these monies to reach the people, then we have to pass the budget. Secondly, the county executive are appointees, but they work for the people. For us to ensure that they work and work effectively for realization of this concept of devolution to the people, we oversight them. We summon them. If we have seen a county minister who has gone rogue, we have the capacity, just as an ICO, to also summon that county executive, just for purposes of ensuring that he or she toes the line for actualization of that concept of devolution to the ground. Okay. So this is something that we've been able to do as a county assembly of Homa Bay, so that we are sure devolution is felt and felt on the ground. Okay,
we only have about a minute, but I'd like you to comment on this. Some county assemblies have gone rogue, and they're actually clawing back on some of the gains of devolution. Did you agree that?
I agree. Look at, was it not Machakos, where we saw members actually strangling each other? Yeah. And even as we speak right now, I'm sure, I think that there is a big conflict between the members, the speaker, and the governor. And that close back decision making. Yeah. Because when you have people warring or fighting each other, it means that the environment to make effective decisions is not there. And even follow-up, because it means that if you do not deal with the conflict, most of the reports that therefore come from the county assembly as oversight decisions would be seen as witch hunt, which, based on our politics, how we do politics in this country, some of those decisions might never be believed by anyone, because they will say, the speaker and her people are fighting the governor. Is it which county? Is it Kisii County, where members are actually, I think it's Kisii, I need to check, where members now have 2 chambers.
Yeah.
There's one in the
Nyamira.
official, is in Kisii, right?
I think it's Nyamira.
On Nyamira?
Yeah.
You have the official chamber where the speaker is seated with a mace, others are seated under a tree. What is it that you are doing? And yet the constitution have given you proper roles and responsibilities, and the people have very high expectations of you. So it is important that members of county assemblies understand their role. I've been part of, through County Governance Watch and other partners, opportunities to offer induction and even trainings and capacity assistance. And we know that some of these members, because we don't have caveats on who you elect and who you don't. It is for the people to elect someone. So ikikuletea mtu hawezi andika jina lake, you can't censor the person. You accept the person as an elected official. But the desire to now want to learn more and to accept your challenges, I think that also closes lots of challenges and progress. I mean progress that therefore county governments are supposed to accrue. So it is important, Fred, that the same way we see them going to State House together to meet with the president as a county leadership, we want to impress upon county leaders from the executive to the assembly to sit together. And if you saw, for example, here in Homa Bay, the governor was asking the leadership, now not of the county but of the region, to stand. And they were all standing, MCAs were all standing, and they were being appreciated. And I'm sure in their own quarters they were saying, yeah, thank you because we have done a good job. That is only possible when you are able to work together, to synchronize your efforts together, and therefore to be able to achieve more.
All right. 12 years of devolution. This is what we're taking stock of as we come to the close of the Devolution Conference 2025, which will be officially closed by the Deputy President, Professor Kithure Kindiki, here at Homa Bay High School today. Thank you so much, Vickins Bondo, MCA, West Kasipul Ward in Homa Bay County, and Kevin Osido, Governance Specialist, as Executive Director, County Governance Watch. And the sun is definitely out in Homa Bay County. Very last day of the Devolution Conference, and we're struggling with it, but it's a beautiful day here. Promises to be a warm day in Homa Bay County. For now, we'll take a short break, and after the break, we'll take you back to our main studios in Nairobi for some more programs before we come back to continue taking stock of devolution. My name is Fred Indipoli. See you later.
Thank you.